Hi everyone, I'm Russ Hamilton. I'm a retired sergeant with the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation.
Hi, my name is Russ Hamilton. I'm a retired sergeant from California Department of Corrections. Doing this video at the behest of Anthony Ganji and Tier Talk. The other night, Anthony and we did a little spot on inmates and alcohol. Basically, we did a little spot on two yahoos that ended up drinking some hand sanitizer, getting drunk, stealing an ATV, going on a joyride, that sort of thing. So this is a follow-up to that, and this is going to be a little bit more instructional on inmates and alcohol. So basically, in the correctional setting, there's three ways inmates can get their hands on alcohol. And that's, first of all, they can manufacture it. Second of all, they can smuggle it in. And third of all, they can use what I call non-conventional sources to get a hold of it. So anytime you've got alcohol inside a institutional setting like that, it's really, really dangerous. I can't emphasize enough the number of fights and riots and assaults on staff and that sort of thing that I've seen over the years, and the drunks that I've had to fight and break apart from fighting at each other and that sort of thing. But it brings me back to a story in recognizing the type of security threat that this is. I was in a dorm one time, caught a couple of inmates drinking. It was obvious that at least one of them was drunk. I told my officer that was with me to start handcuffing the one guy. He handcuffed that guy. I handcuffed the other. I got some people down. We ended up escorting them out, finding 6 or 8 gallons of alcohol. Took them down to start, to see how inebriated they were and to wait to see how long it would be before I brought them back onto the unit. Well, anyway, while this was going on, the officer approached me and said, "Hey, that was just Pruno." And so Pruno is our name for inmate manufactured alcohol, of course. And what this officer was doing, he was very young in his profession, and he was mirroring some of the other stuff that he'd seen other staff react to. And these staff apparently weren't as hip to the problems that causes as well. Alcohol in the correctional setting is very serious, and it causes all kinds of violence. So when I ran it down to him, the things that it could cause, the fact that we could get into fights with those inmates, if we let them back on the unit, they could cause fights in their dorms and stuff, broken jaws, sliced up faces, all that kind of stuff that I've seen from the result of this. Then he kind of understood. And alcohol is something I would never take lightly. Especially inside. This was inside a dorm, so it was a much bigger safety issue. So anyway, to get on with fighting that, and starting with the first part of this video, we're going to talk about manufacturing and some of the detection processes of it. First of all, when inmates manufacture alcohol, basically it's a process that uses sugar and yeast. And the ways that they get yeast are, you can get it directly from bread. I've had inmates tell me that they get it from their toe jam. I don't know how real that is or whatever, but just a little bit of information for you there. But anyway, the basic thing is that you have to have sugar. Tomato paste is a great way for them to. It has high in sugar content. Sometimes some forms of Kool-Aid, that sort of thing. We tried to remove all sugar and sugar products because, even candy can supply the sugar. So basically you've got sugar, and then you've got alcohol, and the in-between actor is yeast. So yeast, basically, it's a little animal that eats sugar and shits alcohol. And so that's the way that you end up getting that. Now, when I talk about detecting for this kind of stuff, it's a little bit more complicated than just all that. These inmates, they have to go to great lengths to cut up pieces of fruit to get as much sugar as they can in different things. And then they'll try and heat all that up because yeast does much better in a really warm environment. And as that stuff heats up, that alcohol will start to ferment, and then it makes a really bad smell. And most of you out there that have been doing this for a while, you know what that smell smells like. And it smells horrible. It just smells like, it smells like rotting fruit, of course. So anyway, but there's different ways that they go about hiding this. So this is just a quick few little tips on that. You know, the obvious places that you look are always in trash cans and things like that. But you know what? I have found this stuff bagged up and put in the bottom of a mop bucket with dirty water poured over the top of it. I mean, they're serious about being able to, you know, hide their stuff and being able to drink it later. I've seen it where they've actually taken a bag of it and flattened the bag out so flat and put it underneath the door and rolled it all the way under to the other side to a locked door that you would think that they won't have any access to, but they can just pull it back out from underneath. And then any other where your imagination can take. I found it in boxes of crackers and hidden inside other, you know, soda bottles and all sorts of things like that. So, you know, it's a crazy thing. And as I said before, I'm going to say over and over and over again, it's really, really dangerous. So anyway, those are just a couple of quick points on that. The smuggling issue with getting alcohol in, not really going to touch on that. That's pretty obvious because it's just like any other thing you smuggle in. Probably a little bit more difficult because it's not like dope or something like that. But the non-conventional source, that's what we're going to really talk about in this little last part of the video here. In this bit that Anthony and I talked about, this was a situation where these guys, somehow they got access to hand sanitizer, and that's all of it took. Well, the hand sanitizer is really high in alcohol. And so all that they had to do, now I don't know if they did this, they may have just drank it down like it was, but it's really easy to just get the alcohol out of that stuff right away. All you got to do is put a little bit of salt on it. And after that, all you got to do is drink it, because guess what? Salt doesn't dissolve in alcohol. And so, well, you probably would get some of the taste anyway. But these guys, when they're desperate like that, who knows how that they don't care about how they imbibe it. But they can do that. Or if they've got time, and I've seen this too before, they can do a makeshift still where they keep all that alcohol in a bag. If they can get a piece of tubing or something and wind it around, heat that bag up. Alcohol is way more volatile than water, so it will evaporate first. So you could theoretically distill it out like that. Sometimes they'll do that with their Pruno product as well, but it's more difficult because it's very low concentrations inside that Pruno. So anyway, that's just the basis for that. I'm going to pick you up because this is high quality production here. Just show you a quick little. If I can go there. If you can see this, this is your chemical formula. That's sugar and that's alcohol. So anyway, I'm not a chemist, but I have read a lot about this stuff, and I've chased a lot of Pruno in my life, thousands and thousands of gallons worth. So anyway, in a minute here, I'm going to take you straight to a demonstration. I'm going to show you how you can distill this stuff directly out of the hand sanitizer gel and be able to drink it down. I'm not going to drink it though. All right, this is Russ Hamilton again. I am back, and I am ready to continue on with this little experiment here, and this little instructional on inmates and alcohol. So anyway, what I did was I went and I got my hand sanitizer there, Daylogic Advanced. On the back of it, I couldn't get the camera to focus on it, but I'll tell you that it says that it's 70% alcohol by volume. 70% of alcohol by volume translates to 140 proof for those of you out there that know your alcohol. Now, in this case right here, as you see this, you can see that it's the goop on top. Okay, well, an inmate, in order to prepare this to be drank, really needs to get into a liquid form. The easiest way to do that is to use common ordinary salt. Now this is super iodized, but I don't think that makes any difference. But what's going to happen is I'm going to pour this in there, and there's going to be a reaction, and the reaction is going to be very slow moving. And what's going to happen is the salt is going to move all the way from the top down to the bottom of the glass, and it's going to leave liquid instead of gel above it, and all of that liquid is going to be 70% pure alcohol, right? And so people are going to say, well, what about the salt? That's going to be pretty nasty. No, it's not going to be nasty because alcohol, for the most part, does not dissolve salt. So this is the way it's done. They could drink that straight, but that's not the way I've ever heard of it being done. They could also, theoretically, I've heard of this being done, is they could put the liquid remains in a bag and they could evaporate it out using a tube to try and distill it. But I think that would mean that they have a lot more time on their hands than most inmates do. So here we're going to go with the salt, and I'm going to pour a layer over the top of it, and that layer is going to progress toward the bottom. Okay, so now we're just going to be watching it. Now, if you recall a little bit in your high school chemistry class, the ways that you can increase a reaction, you can mix it, you can heat it, or you can add a catalyst. So we don't have any sort of catalyst, and in this case, you could mix it up, but that would break up some of that gel and it would get back into the liquid, and we don't want that to happen. I could heat it up, I could nuke it, but then you wouldn't get to see it. So anyway, as you watch, just watch. All of the salt's going to move down, and what's left on top, as you can see, as it's starting to go down, that liquid being left behind, that's going to be 70% alcohol right there. And that's going to be ready to be drank, ready to be belted down. So anyway, here in a minute, I'll take my fork and I'll show you that it's indeed just regular splashable liquid here. I'm going to add just a little bit more to this little place on top. See, that's going to push that whole salt plate down a little bit. I don't know if you can see it very well on here, but there's a real clear line here between the liquid on top and what's left of the gel here on the bottom. This part's starting to sag. It's going a little bit faster than the rest of it. So there it is. You can see now it's all starting to move down toward the bottom. Now you can see it kind of lumped around there. This didn't happen as evenly as I would like for it to have, because it's left a little bit of that gel on top there. I'm going to pour a little bit more on it, push that down. All right, and you see that the rest of that gel is coming out. Now if I go on top here, you can see that this has become all liquid. All of that gel's coming out. See, I can scoop a little bit of those gelatin crystals out still and stuff, because that didn't react as equally as I would have liked for it to have. But now you can see that it's liquid form on the top. A little bit of lumps in there and stuff. That could be taken out with a coffee filter. But as you can see, the reaction was there. So anyway, I hope you guys really liked that little demonstration. Hope you learned a little bit about the methods that inmates use to get alcohol. I hope you guys will take it very seriously when you do an alcohol interdiction, especially on those special days like the day before Super Bowl or the day of. And I hope you'll all stay safe out there.